Alrighty, we are back on Tampa Bay Cop Talk. I'm Darius.
Jordan.
David.
Oh, Andrew. Hi. How are you?
Wait, do y'all smell that? Oh, that was that booty performance that Liverpool just put in. 7-2 losing to Aston Villa. That was a stinker, to say in the least. That is one that we will hopefully not be talking for too much longer, but we'll just get it off our chests as we sit here tonight, the day after the game. Starting with you, David. David, what the hell?
You gotta have a howler every now and then. I think the thing that bothers me about it most isn't necessarily the result, because there's some flukiness to what happened yesterday in parts of it, but I think the real thing that bothers me, and I think this is what'll bother Klopp, is just the way heads went. Everybody's energy dropped, everybody's heads fell off after the first mistake. And look, you're on a team, you're 11 human beings, one of them is going to make a mistake. I get, it happens, but they did not adjust at all, and it's just they reacted poorly to everything after that. And just the energy in the side, you could just see complete frustration. For the mentality monsters, that's not normal. And hopefully something we don't see a whole lot more of.
Well, it wasn't a fun one to watch. Jordan, you didn't watch the whole thing live. You had to turn it off. It was so wonderful. I mean, before we get into who we're going to blame or what we could take away from that game, just kind of overall, what was your impression just based off the first 45 that it just had you enough?
So there was I have two impressions of the game. The first one is right at halftime where I had enough. And it was just so clear that there wasn't any way for us to get back into the game, because as David said, the attitude, the body language, the effort levels just weren't there, not what you expected. So, do I sit and suffer another 45 or do I make the calculated risk really of being well, the chances they come back and this is this amazing elation moment are very little. So I just turned it off. And then because I had that football app, it just kept buzzing every 10 minutes. Guess what? It got worse. You made the right choice.
I think it was a good play for your mental health. I think it was a good play for your mental health, turning it off.
I mean, not to mix sports here, but honestly, I had to decide, am I putting my energy into a Bucks comeback or to a Liverpool comeback? Because it's one of the few times where they're on at the same time. And I was listen, happens. Yeah, I was Liverpool won the league last year. I don't want to watch everything I love about them be torn down in 45 minutes. So we'll put that to the side. But then my second impression was when I woke up this morning and I just felt terrible. And I realized I was this isn't because I'm getting sick or there's something else going on in my life. This is all stemming from a really bad Liverpool performance. And to be honest, it's been about 2.5 years since we've honestly woken up feeling like that after a Liverpool match. And in some ways it was kind of cathartic. And I kind of I was just sitting there and I was man, you just don't feel like this very much anymore watching Liverpool. And not that I enjoyed it, but it was kind of reminiscing of man, remember Roy Hodgson, how shit that was? Remember the end of Rodgers, Jordan, when you were telling everyone, no, just give him one more chance.
Remember Stevie's last game?
Yeah.
And you had to just spend a whole summer with that?
Yes. Right. And so then I was just well, I guess it's really just a reminder of how far we come. And I guess it's kind of good because we've all gotten very greedy and we've all gotten very spoiled to thinking this team's just unstoppable. There's no way that anyone could beat them. And maybe it's good. It's a good shock to the system just to reboot it and remind everyone nothing is for granted. Nothing is given. You can be as good as possible. And it's just not guaranteed unless you do the little things that you're supposed to do. But yeah, I had to turn it off at halftime. And I've since watched some of the second half highlights, if you can call them highlights. Lowlights would be more appropriate term. And yeah, it just was not very good, was it?
For everybody who was in the pits about the transfer window and then suddenly riding high when we signed 2 players, thinking we're good now. I mean, hey, you still got to do the work.
Yeah, exactly.
This is proof.
Yeah. And further proof of that, now for our voice of reason, the sensible one who's talking to us off the ledge today, to the man in the box below me, Andrew. you were kind of sensible
So
about this
weird.
whole thing.
So weird to have him be making sense.
Okay, so before I make any damn sense, I'm gonna make no sense. Okay, so just initial reactions during the match. I mean, I was at the bar. The first time this season, or actually in a long time, I took the misses. Yeah, that's not happening again. Clearly.
He's a jinx.
Bad luck.
Bad luck. It's clearly her fault. No, but no, honestly, I'm glad she was there because she looked at me like she gave me that bitch, you better have a sense of decorum eye. You know what I'm talking about? Because, the bar was packed, and honestly, it was packed because of the NFL as well. But, part of me, I think it was the third goal that I was so pissed off about that I would have thrown it like a chair if I could. Like if she wasn't there, I probably would have thrown the chair on the ground, all that kinds of stuff. And then I had VJ, who we interviewed for Origin Stories with me, sitting next to me. And he was just like tapping me on the knee, like a la Thierry Henry to Jamie Carragher. He's like, hey, man, we just got to score 4 goals in 40 minutes. A goal every 10 minutes. We'll be fine. I'm like, how are we friends? Shut the fuck up.
I was definitely doing that at the 30-minute mark. I'm just like, you know what? Get a goal every 10 minutes and you'll be fine. Like, or every 30 minutes.
No. And also, I ordered food at the bar. Not happening again. First time ever. That's not happening again. Clearly, all multiple firsts happened that day. So yeah, no,
First,
not
All
happening
his
again.
fault.
All that shit's fault. But no, I honestly, I had during the game, I couldn't even analyze what the hell was going on. I couldn't understand what was happening. I remember thinking, wait, wasn't that one goal offsides? It wasn't. I was like questioning my understanding of football.
Reality.
Like, do I even know what rules are? Like, do I know shit? Like, what's going on here? Like I seen my brain farted just like the players on the pitch. And yeah, for me, the most disappointing thing, obviously the lack of effort, but for me was Van Dijk. I mean, how long has it been since we've heard like, oh, how amazing he's been? And don't get me wrong, he's had mistakes since the restart, but it's just, maybe he has some issue with the armband. I don't know. I don't really care. That's something that's like, I don't have time to speculate on. But there is some sense to be had in all this.
mm-hmm.
And I guess I could let you guys talk, but I just want to remind everyone that last year, another team in the south coast of England lost 9-0 against Brendan Rodgers and Jamie Vardy, right? And I would just like to read to you what happened afterwards. All right, I got it on here. All right. A week later, they go home, they visit the champions, Manchester City. They lose a respectable 2-1. They were winning the entire game and gave up 2 goals in 15 minutes to lose that game. Then the international break. Then they lose 2-1 to Everton at home. And then the week later, they play Arsenal. Or no, a couple weeks later, sorry, they play Arsenal. And 2-2, but they should have won that game had it not been for a Lacazette 96-minute equalizer. My point being is that, we have better players than Southampton, right? So I don't think this is the beginning of the end, or Jurgen Klopp's going to be fired in January or some nonsense. Although I was thinking that during the game, I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. The bitch is going to go. He's going to go. Bitch is going to go. FSG. Linda, she's going to put her foot down. Shit's going to go pop off, right? And, all my dreams and nightmares were coming together at the same time. Or just nightmares, actually.
Well, now dreams and nightmares. I mean, I think that's
whatever.
I'm gonna call it an unintentional, intentional Meek Mill reference there. So brownie points for you on that.
Thank you. No. I don't know. English is hard, but you get it.
Before we get into anyone we kind of look at as, wow, he was shit yesterday. What were are there any positives that we can take away from that game, or at the very least, what can we credit Villa for from yesterday's game? Because there were 2 teams out there, and obviously in a game like that, you still have bright spots and you still have the opponents who are out there who are taking advantage of the mistakes you make. I mean, Jordan, we'll start with you. Like, what were some of the either bright spots or just like, okay, tip of the cap to Villa that you can kind of take away from yesterday?
As the foremost Villa expert on the pod now, having I maybe we shouldn't interview other fans anymore.
Or maybe you shouldn't.
Well,
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But, to be fair to Villa, I mean, granted, the first goal, and it's going to come up later,
Yes,
changes the whole dynamic of the match because when it happens, how it happens, and who it happens to. But they take the chance, and there's been plenty of times where we've done that sort of stuff with Alisson on the pitch and the other team's just not been able to score the goal, even with Adrián in net. So they finished the chance, credit to them. But from there on out, they had a way they wanted to play. Ollie Watkins said afterwards, look, we fancied our chances with the high line getting in behind. And it's no secret. It's what teams have done to us over and over again. It's just that we've been able to recover and make up for it and not face as many opportunities as we faced against Aston Villa. They had 18 shots, 11 in the box. That's just insane. That's what you expect Liverpool to do to Villa. Mm-hmm. But credit to them, and credit to even Ross Barkley, as much as I hate the bastard. And Ollie Watkins looks like a good striker for a Premier League team. And Jack Grealish did all the things that Jack Grealish is really good at doing, providing assists and scoring goals. Some of those goals were really, really good. And some of the movement on the goals were really, really good. Liverpool's back line, for whatever reason, wasn't together. It was very sloppy. It wasn't even. I guess you can call it the perfect storm. If I'm looking for a silver lining for us, though, it just obviously cannot get any worse. This is rock bottom. Yes. This is Tottenham away from a couple of seasons ago. It's not going to get any worse than this the rest of the season, which is good because it's very early in the season. We got plenty of time to make up ground or whatever in our goals. But yeah, I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to Villa for everything that they did. They had a game plan. They executed it. They took advantage of every single one of the mistakes that Liverpool made, and they gave more effort, and they cared more about winning the game. Klopp even said it. He said, Villa came out here and they wanted it more, which is disappointing from our group of guys. But yeah, that's if you're looking for the silver lining, it just can't get any worse. It's the worst game of Liverpool since the 60s. It's just not. If it does get worse, well, holy shit. I don't even want to imagine what that looks like. Is it next week against Everton 10-0? Because that's the only way it can get worse, and it's probably not going there. So that's the silver lining. The other thing is you got to take note of anytime we've played piss poor under Klopp, for the most part, right on the back of that, everyone's responded, and Klopp's got him to turn the corner. So, but yeah, like you said, there's always two teams playing. I know as Liverpool fans, we want to think our way. Our guys. That's it. Yeah, our way, our strategy is going to overcome anything. But the other team's allowed to do better than us, perform better than us, give more effort, and beat us. They're allowed to do that. That's why they're out there.
And Dean Smith, the way they set up, they have Jack Grealish on that left side where we understand the weaker side of the defense is on Trent and Gomez's side. David, I mean, we had kind of talked about a little bit of the formation and how it was a bit rigid. So I guess you got to kind of say, all right, well played. That was a little bit of a chess move having Grealish, your number 10, out on the wing, and clearly it worked.
Yeah, no, credit to them. Like Jordan said, they had a game plan. They wanted to feed Grealish the ball and have him run at Trent and force him and Gomez to make decisions, and they did that. I think we did not adjust well. We didn't make any adaptations to try to help them more. The midfield did not help them at all in a lot of cases. Yeah, I mean, they took advantage of what really, I mean, look, I think if Jordan Henderson and Sadio Mane are in that game, I don't know as it concludes the same way. I mean, certainly, I highly doubt they score 7 just because of the intensity that those players bring and the expectation that they have for the people around them. And it's just so they were able to take advantage of certain aspects of our circumstances. But you got to give them credit. I mean, the fact that at no point did we cut off the passing lanes to Grealish or isolate against him. There was, like I said, there's just no adjustment, and they just took advantage of it. So, but if this is some silver lining, I would say that this comes into an international break, and when you have a performance like that, you're all looking around the locker room like, what the fuck was that, right? Well, if there's any tension or anything, you've got 2 week, 10 days, whatever it is, away from each other. And sometimes you go away, and I think with international duty in particular, you go away and then you go, I mean, you play under a lesser manager, and you go into a team where there's no, oftentimes the chemistry is not as good, and you go like, oh yeah, no, it's pretty dope back at Liverpool.
There are worse football
There are
teams.
much worse things out there than playing for Jurgen Klopp and the best team, one of the best teams in the world. So they'll go do that, and then they'll come back, I think, and kind of go like, all right, everybody knows what we got to do.
Hey, I mean, Andrew, the homie had a couple goals. Mo bagged a brace.
Yeah, honestly,
I feel like we haven't talked about anything that was good, and I guess Golden Boot's still on.
I'm glad for Mo. I mean that's important for the rest of the season because obviously homie wants a Golden Boot. Get that Golden Boot. That's fine. He was probably the only classy player on the pitch for us. That being said, I think the boys hit the nail on the head, whatever English. International break. Basically, everyone took a vacation day, and that's fine. They all took a mental health day. The mentality doctors need a damn therapist. They probably don't have time for a damn therapist.
They don't get to work from home.
They can't work from home. They had an off day. I get it. Shit.
Well, you know what it was? It was they were doing a great job of adhering to the social distancing rules by staying 6 feet away from all the attackers.
I'm sure they thought Mane got corona, so they're like, oh, the ball must have corona too. So like, let's just
they were being responsible.
Yeah, being responsible citizens. Good on them. No, but all serious, not jokes. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the only kind of good thing is that obviously Jordan said it can't get any worse. If it does, then oh my God, I'm gonna need to have 2 therapists on speed dial. If it gets any worse, but for me, again, they're gonna have multiple games during the international break, and the bitches that are not on international break get to work. Jordan Henderson get to work. Did Joe Gomez get a call up? I gotta drive him somewhere. He needs to get to work. I'll drive him to work. Damn it. He was horrendous. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I mean, for those folks, they Adrián, you better be working 12 hours.
Oh, we'll get there in a second.
My God, yeah, that. No, ain't no break for you no more. Take 3 days off, and then after that, you come back 12-hour days. That's the way I look at it. No, but the only concern I have though is because, in a normal week. Yeah, they would have been really shit. They would have felt shitty for like the 3 days afterwards, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But then they have a game on Saturday, Sunday, and it's like, a chance to put things right. But now since they're gone, yeah, they'll get rid of it mentally. But then when they come back, they'll have 2 days to prepare for everything. So whatever Klopp and lenders are thinking to change something, I don't know. Again, I'm not a coach. I don't know. Is 2 days enough time to do something significant against a team that's flying right now under Carlo Ancelotti and my boy James? Like, are they? Because damn it, I want that record to stay. I don't want to lose to the damn Blues. You know what I mean? So, or the Toffees, whatever. And so that's the one thing I do worry about. In the short term. Mm-hmm. But again, it's okay to have a mislaps. And I honestly, let's be honest. If this had happened to United or City or, quote unquote,
you
rival,
mean like it did?
Yeah, I was like,
no. I'm saying like if we had lost in that manner to City or
gotcha.
Or United, that would have been much worse psychologically, right?
Fair enough.
And blah blah blah. But it's Villa, whatever. I only get shit from a friend of mine. It's fine, but it's needless to say though, from a Villa standpoint, congratulations, you won't be relegated. Yay, cool. Based on their performance yesterday. I don't even think they'll be in the relegation conversation. I think they could probably earn a respectable 12th or something along those lines. And
that's exactly what the guy on the Aston Villa pod said, by the way.
I know. I done seen it. I done heard it. I know.
He's just trying to be clever and throwing a plug.
Personally, after watching that performance, I think top 10 is very possible for Villa.
Yeah, with their signings, I mean, look at their goalkeeper and then Ross Barkley. I mean, F that guy, but obviously him and Jack are gonna have a bromance like no other. And then of course they signed that goalkeeper, so I think they're solid. That being said, it's very frustrating, but again, everyone needs a mental break, and I'm gonna call my therapist tomorrow, make an appointment. But other than that, I think we'll be fine.
All right, and now for the moment we've all been waiting for. Who are you coming for? Whose neck are you coming for, Jordan? Start us off.
Well, before I go for my main man and I dig into my goalkeeping mind, I think Andrew brought up a very interesting point that's been touched on slightly before, but we've never really blown it open. Virgil van Dijk with the armband for Liverpool is not a great player. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because he has to focus on other things, but when that armband drops down the pecking order 3 spots and it ends up with Virgil van Dijk, he just doesn't seem to perform in the same way as he does when he has Jordan Henderson in front of him. And like David said, I think there's a lot we've seen it many times what we lose with Jordan Henderson, that emotional driving force, and Sadio Mane, like you think back to the Man United equalizer pulling everyone back. Maybe they're like 60% of the mentality in the team. I don't know, but who do I blame the most? I do want to blame more than the goalkeeper, people like Virgil van Dijk, Gini Wijnaldum, Trent, Joe, who have been here long enough to know the standards. And, when you have a backup drop in behind you, you have to up your levels. You can't have 3 of the 4 back line and every single midfielder just not show up. Like, it's just not going to go well for you. With that being said, I texted you guys this morning. I think we've reached a point of no return in regards to trusting Adrián, especially with the players in the team. And I think when we talked about the reaction from the team, a lot of that has to do with Adrián being in goal. And I think it even comes down to how he reacted to the goal himself. There's a shot side by side of Jurgen Klopp yelling from the sideline at Adrián after he's made the mistake early on. And Adrián just doesn't even want to look over and acknowledge him. And when he finally does look over, Klopp just goes, Adrián, just boot it. And he goes and like turns his head. And to me, if you're not willing to own the first mistake and like help us come back from it, and your mentality at that point is like, no, I'm not even going to acknowledge it. It starts to spread throughout the team. And I think the team's looking behind them and going, okay, we're a year into this Adrián experiment. And I think we can all agree that this guy has at least one major mistake in him every single game. And it's just a question of when it's going to happen. And is it going to lead to a goal? And so I would place a lot of the blame at that first goal. Granted, they didn't respond properly, but if there isn't an incident to respond to, do we have a chance for 10 to 15 minutes to grow into the game? I don't know. We'll never know.
I mean, there's a number of things where things go wrong throughout that game. Of course, you also have a penalty shot for Salah early in the game as well. If the ball bounces one way and doesn't the other, woulda, coulda, shoulda, maybe if, but if I would have won the lottery, I'd be a billionaire. Who knows? We could play that game all day long. But sticking with who you're looking at and slapping on the back of the neck, whose neck are you coming for, Andrew?
I mean, it's the entire defense, honestly. It's Van Dijk, it's Gomez, it's Trent. Trent, I mean, look at the second goal. He's up there, but then he's up there pressing like he's supposed to, but then what's his name, Watkins, comes behind him, and then he just doesn't run back. It's like me playing the co-ed league that I play in. I was like, I literally can't run, so that's why I'm not going to track back. But like, I know he can run. I know the guy has fitness. He just didn't. He's not like, I don't know. He was playing Fortnite in his head. Who knows what he was doing? So that's frustrating for me. Gomez, I mean, was a complete shambles. I don't know. Van Dijk, though, for me, I mean, the thing I've always criticized Van Dijk on, and if there is a thing to criticize him for, and this is during his like year when he should have won the golden ball thing, the Ballon d'Or, whatever.
Balloon d'Or, yeah.
Yeah, that is that he's so good that it looks like he's not trying. Like that he's so calm and so like he looks like he's like jogging essentially. Like almost like no sense of urgency. And for me, that sometimes could, and as someone who likes to move at 1,000,000 miles an hour, for me, that is like very stressful to watch. And one thing I look at, like, for example, I know it's kind of maybe I'm being too harsh, but, the deflected goal, it hit his foot and it goes in. And I'm just thinking, like, you saw that? Like, bro, like, move out the way. Like, stop being so calm. And just like, for example, there was one shot. Well, he missed his goal, to be fair. But he came through the middle. Mm-hmm. Van Dijk sees him, but he doesn't run after him. And Barkley just goes through. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's jogging. He's just Like, I don't know. Like he's like with Frodo Baggins in the Shire, just like jogging, like, oh, I'm gonna enjoy this meadow and scenery. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on. So that's the frustrating thing I have. I mean, maybe I've had a beer, so like I don't know. I'll have to look at the highlights again. I just remember thinking in my emotional state, like, can you put the intensity up a little bit? And yeah, man. And again, I hope this is the thing that they think throughout the entire season. Like, this is going to be the motivation, kind of like in that Michael Jordan documentary where Michael Jordan basically made up a fake news story in his head just to motivate himself to play well. He made up a fake news story that some guy that they said some guy was better than him or deserves the MVP. Or
some dude who was like like the 12th man on the team was like going after him because Michael Jordan was crazy.
Yeah, I want the whole damn team to take this game and like use that just like Jordan did. And again, Klopp, if you're listening, this is the second time I'm saying on an episode, make the boys watch the damn documentary because I want
you want Jurgen Klopp to be there with the tablet just looking down being like, and I took that personally.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's not just Klopp though. I want all the players to feel that way because I want them to be absolutely insane, just like I am. That's why I have a therapist on speed dial, because I'm insane. I want them to be insane. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Man.
Like they need to be insane. There's too many millions of people counting on them, you know? So no, all jokes aside though. For me, it's Van Dijk and so on because Jota, for me, he had a fine first half. Salah was okay. Firmino was shit, but like, there's been a bigger conversation about Firmino in terms of, is he right? Do we need someone else? Whatever. I get it. People are going to cry about it, but that's people who don't understand. I mean, I get it. Firmino's not always stellar all the time. It's fine. Also, he had a great assist for Salah's second goal. So for me, his bad performance wasn't as bad as obviously the defense for me. So that's it. Put me on mute for the rest of the time. I'm done. I don't even know what else to say anymore other than like bitches need to watch Michael Jordan. Bitches need to be crazy.
I'll jump in and
sounds like a broken man. Jordan, save us.
No, I just wanted to say, I think the problem when Van Dijk does get the armband is that he's so calm that the rest of the players kind of take on that persona when they. And like Jordan Henderson, when he's out there, he's an effort player. He's skillful, but he makes up for his lack of skill with the other players by just going 100 miles an hour at all times. And I think that permeates to the squad. But when your captain is the guy that's never going 100 miles per hour, he's always going 15. That starts to permeate to the squad, and maybe that's not healthy for.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's like when you see a former great player becomes a coach or becomes a manager or is in player personnel. Their whole thing is they can't understand why all the other players don't just do what they did because, dude, you're great. You're amazing. Nobody else can do what you do. That's why you are who you are. Virgil van Dijk is a player like that where he can make it look casual, something that is ridiculously tough. He makes it look easy because he's that kind of a smooth player. That's not a good leader all the time, though, because sometimes you need to be the one on everybody's ass and getting them going. Where Virgil's like, well, why don't you just run it 30 kilometers an hour and just beat him to the ball? Oh, you guys can't do that too? Oh, my bad. So sometimes it does take someone who understands what it means to be a little less talented to be the ideal leader. And you do get that in Jordan Henderson a lot more than you get in Virgil van Dijk. Jordan knows his players a little bit better.
I love Jordan Henderson, but one thing you cannot say is that he makes it look easy.
Yeah. It's effort. It's
pure heart, blood and guts, balls to the wall effort all the time. And I think you guys might be right on this Virgil thing. I don't know if it's a case of I think the expression that comes to mind is heavy is the head that wears the crown,
Oh my God, look at David with his literary references. Get out of here.
It's not even that deep of a
Not everyone can read a book. Shit, check your white privilege with that crap, man.
Bro, Biggie said that. Come on.
Yeah, whatever, man. Sounded like a Shakespeare quote. I got all like, damn, he's calling me out here.
It's a Brooklyn Shakespeare quote. But yeah, David, right. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, and continue.
Sorry,
go ahead, David.
Go ahead.
Let's go ahead and put a bow on who we're blaming for this.
I remember a certain time in LFC Tampa Bay's history when nothing would stop them from finding the game on the internet and putting it on the projector. So I don't doubt that we'll find a way to find the matches. Does life return to normal? Right now, it's really hard to see that as possible. You know, we're 6-7 months into it, and they told us it would be like 2-3 weeks. So the fact that it's been, you know, exponentially longer tricks the mind into thinking that this is an everlasting thing. But again, I guess I'll give you a story. It's Christmas Eve, 1917, and there are German and English soldiers playing a game of football between trenches. And I think that's what it is, man. Again, the Jeff Goldblum quote, life finds a way, and it will. And it may not be exactly the same, but we'll make it ours. And whether NBC wants to be a part of that or not is up to them.
For me, I'm blaming fucking everything. I'll start with 2020 because fuck 2020, right? Like, all right, so because of 2020, this game is different than it would normally be because there's nobody there. Yeah. So normally, what happens in a football match, right? Like, we all know this. You've been watching this game for years. Villa go up 2-0. And then that place turns into a fucking bear pit. Like, it's a crazy atmosphere, and it can go both ways, right? Like, it can spur them on, but it can also, it fortifies Liverpool. They pull together. They kind of get G'd up by the fact that there's all this energy, right? Mo gets one back. What happens? The away end goes off. They get kicked on by that. The energy starts to change. Villa starts to, the Villa crowd maybe gets a little bit nervous and starts to think, oh God, are they going to do to us what they did last year? You know, where they had a 1-0 lead, outplayed us most of the game. We end up winning the game 2-1. All of it changes, though, when there's no one there, because the momentum doesn't shift the same way. The mentality of it doesn't come into it as much. It's more just like a straight up tactical battle. And on the day, they were better. They had a plan for us and they executed it, and we did not adjust. And we can get into this another time. I don't know if you guys want to do it on this show or another show, but I really think that a big part of what is going to determine successful teams this year is your ability to kind of have tactical fluidity throughout the game. Like, you're going to have to be able to adjust and set things in different ways and throw your opponent off, because it is just straight up like a plain old battle between you. It's not, there's no one there to influence it anymore. So yeah, fuck 2020.
Agreed.
No, and then yeah, if I'm looking at the squad, I mean, it just, I think his sub, when he went to go to the bench, he's like, I don't even know where to begin. Is probably what it was his first thought, because when he does the Naby sub at half, thought Naby was like a ghost most of the first half. You know, he's not, the whole midfield isn't blocking any passing lanes. Like, they're just letting them move the ball freely throughout most of the game. You know, Joe really let that first goal get in his head. I thought that he reacted so poorly to that, and then was keeping them on side. Like, you know, if you're going to play this high line, I mean, it's got to be ass hair tight. Like, it is got to be water and couldn't get a BB up a butthole tight. Like, fucking.
Yeah. Any more southern, you know, idioms that you want to go for?
Yes,
that's straight out of South Carolina.
I just learned something today, y'all.
He couldn't get a grease BB up his butt.
No. Yeah, they didn't teach you that English in school. No.
English is hard, bro. Like, what?
No, but like, seriously though, like, it has to be hairpin tight. And so if you're going to be off, what ends up happening, especially when you have a keeper who isn't, you know, look, quite frankly, we are used to having a unicorn between the sticks, right? This guy can be a sweeper keeper. He can block shots. He can be a distributor with his hands, with his feet. It doesn't matter. He's fucking incredible. He's one of the top 3 keepers in the world. He is a unicorn. But this motherfucker that was between the sticks yesterday is a horse. That's it. He's just a regular ass horse. And you cannot ask him to do all these other things, right? Like, you got to just ride this plain ass horse.
Probably a mini horse, by the way, not even a full
like
horse.
A donkey, kind of.
Yes, sometimes.
He's just a regular ass mule, okay?
Yeah.
And so you've got to just plan for that. And when you're playing that line and you don't drop back enough, right? Like, those two are two of the fastest center backs in the world, but they can't track back and close every gap every time. And it's not even conducive to good defending when you're running at your own goal at full speed. You're going to make mistakes. And they've got to make an adjustment there to where there isn't Sunday league levels of space in behind them, but they never did. And then on top of that, you look in front of them, like, who's the first defender in our system? We said it when we talked about the final against Tottenham, right? Like, Bobby Firmino made a stamp on that game, and when he was taken out, Tottenham was able to get into the game. Why? Because he's the first guy, man. He puts the press on. So as soon as they try to come out of the back, they're already under pressure. Well, yesterday he just did not have it, man. Like, in the press, I know he gets that assist for the goal, but he was giving the ball away all day. If you watch it back, and I did put myself through that, and I regret it, but he was giving the ball away all day. It was a mess. And you look at that, the midfield, it's hard to succeed when you have this much shit going wrong, and you've got your regular ass guy between the sticks, and then everybody's heads are dropping. And so it's just like, I blame 2020. Fuck it. I hate it.
I think to be fair to everyone involved, it was one of those games where you look at it, you can question the man in the sticks, but Alisson, how much of a difference he makes, certainly an emotional one, certainly a leadership one. But as far as technically going and making saves, you don't have the one he rolls away. But at the same time, realistically, that was just not Liverpool's day. I think that was the big takeaway from me. But looking at any one player, I almost feel like this is kind of the use case for Jordan Henderson, missing him, because you don't see the tracking back from the midfielders. You just talked about it with Naby Keita not getting back. He did such a good job of it against Arsenal, failed to do so against Aston Villa. You don't have that deputizing at right back that you need when you have Trent going bombing forward and getting into the penalty area every couple of minutes. So you don't have that. That's the space where Grealish gets into and has all day long to set up. And then, of course, the back line was just a further mess from that. So I'm kind of looking at a few of the players who were missing, and then, of course, still playing the same system that you normally play with the high line when you got just a regular ass horse at the back. I kind of look at it from a couple of different ways. Was it more about the guys who they were missing, or was it just the fact that they were rigid in the system? Jordan, what do you kind of look at when it comes to those two things?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, because, and we talked about this in text, and so I'll reiterate it here. It's like, this is a well-oiled machine. And we've seen it. When you take a certain player out of this well-oiled machine, it falters. And I know with Alisson in the sticks, goalkeeper is kind of like an afterthought. Like, they get a chance in the box and we're like, oh shit. And we're like, oh wait, we have Alisson. He's going to make the save, whatever. But it's really so true that the system is all really built on the foundation of the goalkeeper and really the two center backs. Your ability to play that high line comes down to the pace of your center backs and the ability of your keeper to be a sweeper keeper. And then ultimately, because you want to play the ball, the other team's going to press. So then there's the distribution factor. And obviously your ability to play the high line and focus just on the high line comes down to your confidence in the goalkeeper. If you're having second thoughts about your goalkeeper, if rather than being focused on exactly what you have to do and doing your part and being the cog in the well-oiled machine, you're going in the back of your head, well, there is this guy back here that if the high line isn't held just exactly perfect, or if this pass isn't blocked, he's not going to be there to bail me out. So you might not be as focused as you are. So then the question does become, can you change the system? But the funny thing about it is that the best thing for having a questionable goalkeeper is to press the other team higher up the pitch so that they don't get the ball in your half and they don't have opportunities. The problem being there is that if your midfield and your false nine isn't doing the pressing job, now it's a high line with their midfield with the ball and the attackers in space, and you don't have enough players to stop the attack really. So like, do we change the system to accommodate for Adrián is a tough question, because now you're taking a well-oiled machine, and rather than taking one cog out and putting a lesser cog in, you are reforming the whole machine. And maybe there is a system you could play with 3 at the back, with Fabinho kind of have like a floating center back 6 role, and you still have your wing backs. But you get more solidity at the back line and in the midfield. But I'm just hesitant to change the system for a guy for a couple of weeks, when really the best thing for him is that we just press up the pitch and win the ball up the pitch anyways and do what we do best, so that is rendered irrelevant because the ball never gets to him. But as we saw yesterday, when the ball gets to him, it's going south very, very quickly.
And David, we're going to have that. We ain't got Pegasus. We got that horse for the next few weeks. Jurgen Klopp did say after the game that Alisson banged up his shoulder pretty bad in training over the weekend. So it's going to be probably 4 weeks, is his quote, on a good case scenario, more likely 6. So you're looking at about November, maybe middle November, before you could see Alisson back in there. So if I'm making you the head of Liverpool, if I'm making you Jurgen Klopp, what are you doing? Are you going to just freak out and park the bus, or is it full steam ahead?
I think you could probably press on a little bit right now, because I mean, I don't think you're going to see a change against Everton. I really don't. And I think that on most days, your midfield isn't going to play in that shit. I think you're going to get a better press out of them, and that will create a different reaction from your defenders, right? So when you see yesterday, defenders backing off guys. I mean, all those deflected goals, except for the one that came off the set piece that bounced out. But the other 2 deflected goals, you see players backing off, and giving them space to set up and shoot. But why do defenders do that? They do that because they do not feel guarded. They don't feel like anybody has their back, right? So they're just trying to stay in front of the ball. That's like a panic-stricken moment in a defender's mind. So I don't think that that's going to be the norm. But if it were me, let's say it's just me, and I like to play around, because I think that teams, one of the things that happens is when you play a certain way for so long, it can get a little bit stale. And guys want to start to venture out and kind of do their thing with it, which can be good, but it can also be bad. So sometimes you got to stick them in something unusual to give them, make them bond a little bit, make them stick to certain roles, make them stick to kind of like a framework and work together to figure it out. I think that a 3-5-2, I really just, I'm growing more and more into this idea, particularly now that Adrián is in there, because as Jordan said, you have Fabinho kind of as this roaming center back. You have Van Dijk and Gomez, who are 2 pacey center backs that can keep up with the best strikers, or the fastest strikers in the league. No problem. They're extremely good defenders. And then you give your fullbacks a little bit more freedom, but they're still going to come back. But it's not all on Trent. Like, if he gets burnt, he's just leaving Gomez one-on-one, right? So and then your midfield 3 is essentially the same, but you can kind of set it up to where Bobby plays more like a 10 as like a central attacking mid, and feeds Mo and another striker, be it Jota or Mane. Hopefully Mane is back for Everton. I don't know what the diagnosis on that is.
10 days quarantine at the least, so there's a chance.
Right about then. Yeah.
A chance. Yeah. So, but I there's something in that I just feel like, because the back 3 would probably play it back a little bit deeper. I mean, what was it? I'm trying to remember which goal it was, but I think it's the 7th, right? We don't have anybody in our own half. We're playing a line that's in their half. The guy starts his run inside his own half when the ball is played. I'm like, you guys know he can't be offside inside of his own half, right?
It's like, no, you're yeah, that's no.
So we're playing these ridiculous lines, and I kind of feel like it's time to step back, particularly since we have this keeper who is very human, and protect him a little bit more. And I don't know. I feel like the 3-5-2 setup, a three-man back line with 3 center backs might do that. I really hope Joel Matip. What's his injury situation? I don't remember, but I would hope he comes back soon.
I miss him as well, as everyone knows.
Because, like Jordan said, he's become a real bastard, and I like it. But no, I think that it has some merit, or even a 4-2-3-1 where you buy yourself kind of like a system where you kind of almost have 2 defensive mids that, if things, or if you're being put under a lot of pressure like that, they can act as like the 6 at the back, and it gives you a little bit more guard. I don't know, we've played that way before. I don't know what the plan is. Shaqiri, by the way, is staying, so we know that he doesn't really fit into Klopp's 4-3-3 all that well. But hey, could we maybe shift to another system? And if so, does that open up a possibility for him to play more? I mean, I'd be interested to see that. So yeah, I don't know if I don't switch it for Everton, because like Andrew pointed out, you only have 2 days to prepare. So it's not going to be like, I'm not going to bring him in and go, hey guys, we're going to do something we've never done before the derby. So that game, it's going to be the same system. I think you see how that goes. And if you're finding that you're still having this problem, okay, then when we go away back to training in the week, we've got to have a discussion about how we fix this problem. And I think that does look like changing the shape a little bit until you get your Pegasus back.
All right, well, I think we're getting toward the end of this one. So let's go a little rapid fire, guys. Andrew, I'm going to start with you. We're going to go from what you kind of are taking away overall from this last game and international break right now. Good or bad thing?
Yeah, it's only good because they can go on vacation. But honestly, Darius, I'm done talking about this shit. I'm done. I done said it last.
I think we all are. That's why we're trying to wrap it up.
I don't know why you called my name. I done told you what I want. But I want to piggyback on what Dave was talking about, and I'm looking at the schedule, guys. And obviously we have the derby, but then we have a week until we play the next game, and we have both games after Everton. It's both at home against Sheffield and West Ham. West Ham are going down, okay? Sheffield
maybe
United.
not.
I think they will be. Damn it, David! Did I interrupt you? When you were talking?
We haven't let Andrews talk too much this episode. Sorry, dude.
1, 2. Sheffield United are, if I'm remembering correctly, they're not in good form. So what I'm basically trying to say is, if I'm trying to piggyback on what Dave was saying, if we were to do another system, we have time to do it for those games. And the one thing I'm worried about, because, man, this is a fun game for me, is November 7th, City away. So, I'm doing the math here because I love me some math. That's about 4 weeks away, right? So if Alisson is put in a bubble chamber or some shit like that movie Bubble Board, and Jake Gyllenhaal, see that movie, kids. Maybe he makes that game and then we'll be all right. But if Adrian's playing, then maybe I tell Vegas to, maybe I throw down some money against Liverpool. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Don't gamble, kids. It's not good. Not good for your wallet or your soul.
So you're saying call up the Z Warriors, get the hyperbolic time chamber, get them training in there with Kami and Piccolo, and have Alisson ready to go.
All the things, whatever you just said.
Dragon Ball Z, bro. I know you.
Yeah, no, I'm joking. I've seen this show. All of that. And every other anime hospitalization crap we put Alisson in. It's like,
some
remember,
senzu beans.
Yeah, all of it. Because that's my boyfriend. He needs the best care. He needs like presidential care, right? All joking aside, though. So yeah, I have nothing else to say about this game that hasn't already been said. But I'm interested to see what Klopp does. Part of me thinks he doesn't change anything. He just coaches a little bit better and like gives them a spanking. Maybe the kids need a spanking. Maybe
that's it.
Maybe they need some parenting. No, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm stressed out about it. Clearly, y'all have made me stressed. I just have to wait till to the derby day, which I'll be even more stressed because I'll be half awake. It'll be nuts though. I mean, I just damn it.
All someone else. Canned foods.
Yes. Oh, it's going to be a wonderful one. We'll get back to it. Jordan, now international break coming at the time it is. Good thing, bad thing?
For the banter that I'm going through, it's terrible because it's 2 weeks, right? Like before we get to either win again or it continues or whatever. I think, like we said earlier, I think it's good mentally for the players to kind of get a break. They've been doing just club football nonstop pretty much since the restart without much of a break. So it's kind of good. Refresh the air, change the scenery a little bit. Like David says, some of these players go away to St. George's Park, and some of these players go to, the Egyptian national team setup is not very good. The Senegalese setup is not very good. Naby Keita goes to Guinea, and I don't know if you've seen videos of the Ghanaian national team. It looks like, something akin to like American varsity soccer. They go away, the scenery changes, they come back, it's a new energy. Everyone's kind of swept it aside. So I think for the players, it's good. Jurgen Klopp obviously has some times to look things through and figure things out. Like he likes to say, he learns a lot more from our failures than he does from our successes. We had a whole lot of failure. He's got a whole lot of time to learn a whole lot about it. So that's good. Yeah, exactly.
Joe Gomez, if you want to feel better about yourself, you go train with Harry Maguire for a little bit. You're going to feel much better.
But the main takeaway for me is I got two takeaways. The first thing is like, once again, if you haven't been absolutely soaking up in every single moment that this Liverpool team exists and how good they are and all the things that they can or can't accomplish, if you're not singing about us winning the league towards the middle of the season, and if you're not really enjoying it, you need to, because there's a quick reminder about how football goes for most everyone else and how it's gone for most everyone else for the last 2.5 years that we haven't really had to experience that much. And the other thing is, folks, when you have a really, 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 really amazing goalkeeper, you need to also really, really enjoy that and soak up that, because they're very rare. And the unicorn shout is very true. He is a unicorn, and it's amazing artwork what he does. And I think you can see that when a horse gets the paintbrush, well, it looks like he's just shooting shit out the end of his tail. And that's it.
I think you broke David. He's got nothing left.
The imagery came to my head.
That's perfect. That's perfect. That was poetry. All right.
Thank you.
Well, David, now that we've absolutely broken you and ruined your night, what are you looking at with the international break? Just good to step away, kind of.
Yeah, sometimes you just need like a little, like you said, you got to mix it up. You get around a different group of guys, you start to feel something different, and then you kind of like, when you come back, you're like, all right, no, this is proper football right here.
The feng shui right.
Yeah, you gotta just step away from it, have that moment. I think it can be a good thing. And it can't. This kind of shit isn't gonna last forever. I'm trying to take the long view, and when you're gonna have a moment like this, you're gonna have hiccups through a season. Let's just get it out of the way now. Let's get you guys had a howler. What matters is how you react. Klopp says that all the time. And what matters is what we do next. They've been saying it all day, so I think that will be in the frame of mind. There's a you got to look at the bigger picture. I was reading to Darius and Andrew before we started this Bob Paisley quote that's floating around. It says, a lot of teams beat us. Do it on a lap of honor and don't stop running. They live too long on one good result. I remember Jimmy Adamson crowing after Burnley had beaten us once that his players were in a different league. And then at the end of the season, they were.
Yes, exactly.
Wonderful.
So remember that. Like, look, you don't know. This is just one result. It'll come, it'll go. It was a bad one. It was probably the worst we could ever imagine, but I don't think that's going to be a regular thing. So just put it to bed and move on. At the end of the day, you can almost I think we're going to look back on it and kind of laugh, and there's that thing that was floating around earlier that 76 team lost 5-1 away at Villa and then won the league in the European Cup. So don't panic.
I just want to add something here real quick. Scoreline 7-2, 7 European Cups, 2 Premier League titles. We have a big old laugh at the end of the season when we do the double, and we go, and numerology comes back. I'm back at it with the numbers, baby.
Dude, I got super excited. Oh my
exactly. God. It's a sign. It's a sign more than anything.
He's just a horse with a paintbrush.
All right, Darius, before it goes off the rails anymore, go ahead.
Hey, this has been a wonderful one, guys. All right, last thing. Just raise your hands. Who's ready for Everton?
No.
Oh, the hummus guy over here.
No, listen, I watched their game. I'm very.
Pick him out of the chat.
They look too good. I mean, James, my boy, is just lighting the Premier League on fire. I mean,
I am less afraid. I'm less afraid of Everton when they're in high spirits and more afraid of Everton when they're in the dumps. You know what I mean? The bigger and better they think they are and they've got the upper hand on us, the more it tends to go wonky. The Divock Origi goal happened when they thought that they were hot shit, remember?
This is true. The only problem with that is that they have Carlo, which is he's a good guy. But number two, to your point though, they still have Pickford. And last game on Saturday, he made a fucking Tyrannosaurus Rex mistake with his hands again.
Can anybody explain to me why this dude can't catch a football?
It doesn't matter. So maybe he messes up and then Bobby scores a goal and then his confidence comes back.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, I'm still nervous. It's 2 weeks. Talk to me in 4 days. We'll see where I am.
Yeah, we'll get you on board that it's going to be an ass kicking against Everton for the Reds. Maybe a 5-0, 6-0. We'll see. We'll get you on board for that next week. But that's when we'll talk Liverpool and Everton. This one, put it to bed. Throw away the tapes. Never got to talk about it ever again. Liverpool and Aston Villa is officially behind us. So to wrap this one up, I'm Darius.
I'm Jordan.
David.
I'm Andrew. Bye.
And there are going to be better days upcoming for Liverpool. Up the Reds, guys. We will talk to y'all later.
Peace.